Hi, I'm Novel Mike, and this is my opinion. So, we got a couple announcements last night and then this morning. First up, Nintendo announced a bunch of Pokemon stuff, which I was sort of expecting. Not 3 announcements, but first off, to start with, there's a mobile game also on Switch called Pokemon Quest coming out, or I guess it's already out on Switch. It's this blocky looking action game. It's free to start. I don't really like the look of it. I'm not a fan of games that are microtransaction like it is, so not for me, but that's out now on Switch if anyone wants to play it. Besides that, then they also revealed that they are coming out with the rumored games, or I should say leaked at this point, I guess, not rumored, but Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It's a remake of Pokemon Yellow, so Gen 1 Pokemon. It does seem to be all Kanto Pokemon and maybe the Alolan forms of some Pokemon or something to that effect. But nothing besides that. And essentially, it looks very nice, very pretty. Weird design choices. This definitely feels like more of a game they're experimenting with, because they've removed random battles, essentially. You see Pokemon on the overworld. Now you encounter them by walking up to them. And not only that, there are no battles with wild Pokemon. There are only trainer battles now. So whenever you find a wild Pokemon, it basically turns into Pokemon Go, where you have a little Pokeball and you throw it, and if you time it right, you catch the Pokemon. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'll get into that in a minute once we talk a little bit more about the general things of the game. It looks pretty cool. Besides that, it is heavily integrated into Pokemon Go. They did show you transferring Pokemon from the Pokemon Go game into this game. I'm not sure if you can actually just like capture them or get Pokemon that way, or how that's all going to work. But yeah, that's a thing. It also has co-op, which is really cool and something that I think people have been wanting to see in the series for a long time. The disappointing thing, though, is it's not online at all. There's no online battling, no online trading, no online nothing. It's all local, or like on the same screen, or if you have 2 Switches, then you can do local Wi-Fi. Supposedly, like that's been one thing that hasn't been entirely clear, but it definitely does not seem to be online at all. So not super hyped about that at all. They did at least confirm there is a big Pokemon, like new generation Pokemon game coming out next year. So that is probably what a lot of people are basically thinking right now, essentially, is that these games are a more casual experience, tide fans over and get new fans of the series into the series from Pokemon Go, since a lot of people, they found just the first game that they played was Pokemon Go because it was an app and it was free rather than something you have to have a system and pay for. So I think they're trying to get the audience from there to essentially get a Switch and continue their journey from Pokemon Go into a real Pokemon game. So the biggest thing for me about this is that they're removing the wild Pokemon battles, and I have 2 thoughts on this. So essentially, the first thing is that the general gameplay loop gets completely screwed over when you take this out. Normally when you're playing a Pokemon game, you know, you get experience from battling wild Pokemon while you're also battling trainers, and then you get challenged at gyms and, you know, the rival team battles and stuff like that against their leaders and whatnot, and then that's how you have, you know, your progression through the game. When you take out wild Pokemon encounters, or battles I should say, and you're not gaining experience from that, you have to supplement that experience in another way, and we haven't seen exactly how they're going to do that yet. I saw some stuff about saying that essentially it is still going to have experience from traditional battles, but they haven't fine-tuned exactly how it's going to work yet, since they have removed wild battles. And just a personal note, I do think in general it's not a bad idea to remove wild battles, or at very least random encounters, because it does get tedious after a while going through some of the caves and stuff and finally, you know, finding endless Geodudes and Zubats and fighting them over and over again and killing them and it can be a tedious element. Trying to remove that for a more casual audience is probably a smart move. I also worry, though, that because of that, they're removing part of the basic challenge of the game. So when you're playing a game like this, you know, in the general gameplay loop, when you're going in through areas, let's talk Kanto areas, Mount Moon, Victory Road is probably one of the better examples, honestly, is that there are these long dungeon-like areas, and part of the game being challenging in these areas, and at times frustrating, freely I will admit that, is that the random encounters do wear down your resources, both your Pokemon's PP, the items that you've got, your HP, you know, status effects, that kind of thing. That all gives a very basic layer of challenge that you do need in a game for the player to feel like they are accomplishing something. They are getting past these obstacles and achieving victory by getting through that area. And that's why it's a very satisfying feeling for players. When you remove a major element of that, though, and they don't seem to have anything to supplement that, I don't think they're suddenly going to make trainer battles a lot harder or anything like that, or the AI better necessarily. I just worry that doing that is going to make it just kind of boring, I guess, because there won't be that basic level of challenge. I mean, I'm not saying the games need to be hard, but you need to have a basic level of challenge in a game so that way when you're playing it, you feel accomplished and rewarded when you are progressing through it. If you're progressing through a game and you're just stomping through everything, it's not fun because you're not being challenged. You have to have some form of a basic challenge there so the player feels like they are progressing and they are having fun by doing it. Without it, a game becomes boring. Now, there could be some good things with this too. Like, if they are going for a more casual thing with this, then I would not be against them removing some of the more other tedious elements. Something like IVs and EVs, for example, is definitely a more complex thing that is specifically for the more hardcore Pokemon fan, and removing something like that for this game would get rid of a lot of tedium to stuff like that, but it remains to be seen. Moving on, we also had Bethesda announce Fallout 76 after teasing like they did Fallout 4, just a screen of please stand by, and then they did a live stream of that thing, and they had various things like people walking into the shot and stuff like that for almost a full day. So this was just a teaser, and it doesn't tell you much of anything. It's about Fallout 76. They showed some screenshots. It looks like the same engine as Fallout 4, so nothing's really changed there. It is being made by Bethesda Studios, or Bethesda Game Studios, so that also brings into question rumors about Starfield, which definitely seems less and less likely to either be real or to be anytime soon if it is real. So that's not super great. The thing that's come out since that, though, and granted things could change, this is information we're getting from journalists for the most part. You never know when more information comes available, but specifically Kotaku's Jason, I think I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I'm going to try anyway, Schreider, he revealed that essentially it's an online game of sorts. He did not say specifically, I don't think he necessarily knows specifically. He did try to say it wasn't an MMO, which is good, because I don't think anyone necessarily wants a Fallout MMO. But he did come out with a recent tweet I'm just going to read, which he says, "I think it's really important to reiterate this. Anyone who spends the next 2 weeks expecting Fallout 76 to be a new traditional style single-player RPG will be very disappointed." Meaning, I don't really want to play this personally. I wanted Starfield to be real, and granted it still could be, but it seems a lot less likely if the game that Bethesda Studios has been working on for the last several years is another Fallout game. Especially a Fallout game that's nothing like the Fallout games I like, so that's not good for me. This could still be good, like, you know, when you say it's an online game, like, people are thinking it could be a co-op survival game, it could be, you know, some kind of crazy building simulator thing that's co-op online or an online community-driven thing, or it could be like elements from Fallout Shelter. It could be so many things. It could be a battle royale game for all we know. Like, you know, there's many things it could be, but I'm not super excited with the idea of it being online, and I'm not the only one who thinks that. One thing that I've really appreciated about a lot of Bethesda's recent games is that they have been more single-player efforts in an industry that is going so hard in on multiplayer right now. I don't really play that many multiplayer games. Like, some people play all of them, or they'll play one for a while and then get off of it. For me, like, I find one that I like playing, or a couple I like playing, and I just stick with those for a while. But I never dive super deep into those. I rather play a single player experience if I'm going to play anything. And while there are plenty of other games at least coming out this year that I can be excited about, in that it's a worrying trend to see even big publishers seeming to be turning away from that. But I will leave my mind open. I don't want to hate on this game or anything. I just the biggest problem with this and Pokemon is, like, you're either teasing something and not really talking about it, even though it is going to be a very drastic experience than what people are expecting. In the case of Fallout, if it is an online game instead of a single-player RPG, which is what the series has always been. Well, I shouldn't, not always been. All the main ones have been. And granted, this is called Fallout 76, so it's not technically a numbered entry, but it's not called Vault 76 or anything else. It's just called Fallout 76. That does make it seem like it's not necessarily a spinoff. But then you also got something like Pokemon, where they did reveal a lot, but because they changed a core gameplay mechanic and didn't really have any information on how they're going to fix the problems that removing that mechanic creates, it's leading a lot of people to worry about various things, including myself. I think that companies really have to learn is that if you're going to come out with something, you really got to explain it fully so people get it. People don't get necessarily what's going to work and what's not going to work with some of these games. Like, Pokemon fans are pretty diehard for adults, so they care about a lot of the deeper mechanics of it, and you can't just say, oh, this isn't for you just because we're removing this. They just want to know how it's going to work instead, because it might still be for them. People with this Fallout game, like, you tease a game on a stream for a day. I get that. I thought it was going to be a teaser, but you can't tease it and it looks like it's just, okay, it's a new Fallout game, and then to find out later it's not at all what you're thinking, and that it's not a single player game. Like, you need to be upfront with stuff like that, because otherwise people get upset, and rightfully so. And I think a lot of the reaction I've been seeing from a new Fallout being announced is everyone's like, oh my god, yay, new Fallout, and then they see it's online game and it's like, oh, that's not what I want. Okay. But E3 is less than 2 weeks away now, so that's going to be crazy. But we'll find out about more about both of the games soon, that's for sure. That's good, at least. At least it's not a long time frame, unlike Smash, where Nintendo just revealed that and hasn't said anything about it for over a month. And won't until E3, very clearly. So, anyway, I am Novel Mike. That is my opinion on those two subjects. Have a great day, everybody, and I will see you next time.